Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining. Welcome to Global Bizapps Weekend 2021 powered by D365 Champs. It's a day one today and we hope you all are doing well and keeping safe. I'm Vivek Patil, moderating this session along with Priti Pipalia. Our keynote speaker for today's event is Mr. Praveen Mellacheruvu. Praveen will be talking about future biz apps, collaboration, AI and industry. Praveen is country head business applications at Microsoft India. He drives the B2B high-tech strategy, marketing, business development, sales. He has been continuously supporting D365 Champs annual events like Global Bizapps Day, Bizapps Weekend 2021, right from the conception to till date. It's our honor to have him today for our keynote session. Before I hand over this session to Praveen, I would like to mention that if you have any queries, please feel to drop it into our chat window. We'll take them either during the session, if possible, or during the Q&A time. Thank you again for joining and enjoy the session. Praveen, over to you. Praveen, you're sharing the screen.
Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi just went in and out, so
Oh, that's fine.
I'm just sharing my screen. So, first of all, thanks to everyone from the community, right? So the community is what makes any solution area out there, particularly for Dynamics and Bizapps. What you do in the field, uh, in terms of either helping customers or helping organizations better use Bizapps, either Dynamics or Power Platform. That is the front line for us in many ways. So thank you for all the work that you do out there. So with that, what I wanted to do was, yeah, I know you have a lot of topics that you'll be talking about today. I wanted to take it more to like 50,000 feet view to talk more broadly about where is this evolution happening? How are things moving in terms of Bizapps, right? So you all know the history, you all know how this has evolved over the last uh, 50 plus years or even more. And actually, we were on a call with Charles Lamana a few days back, and he was talking about like how Bizapps was probably the first app which was built out there, right? So from that perspective, so I just wanted to share a few thoughts on how this is moving and where this could potentially go in the future, right? So um, in the business application space between Dynamics and Power Platform, right, that the focus is always on in every, it talks about every industry here, but it doesn't matter, every organization out there, it's about how do you do things faster, right? So if you're a product organization, can you build a product faster? If you're in a project services organization, can you deliver a project faster? If you're in a non-profit, right, can you deliver that non-profit service that you're providing to the needy in a fast way, right? Everybody has that there. And they also want to do it in an agile way, right? So things are always changing, disruptions happen. Pandemic is the biggest example of that. So how do you do that in a agile way? At the same time, also being mindful of the cost as well, right? So, and that's something which is universal that you'll see across the board. So from a business perspective, right? So these three would be sort of the pillars on which every organization will increasingly pivot as we look at especially the post-pandemic period. And then if we layer that on top of what does this mean for business applications, right? So that's sort of where we wanted to think about this a little bit more. Um, and when I put that Microsoft sort of lens onto this, right, when you look at the market, it operates very differently, if I could say that, right? There are certain players who can offer specific things, but usually it requires quite a bit of stitching. And I'm not saying if somebody is going to use any sort of IT infrastructure there. They just need to solidify on a single OEM provider, right? That's not the intent of the left side of the slide that you're seeing here. It's more about saying that the platform itself is cohesive, and if you look at the market, you will encounter a lot of those challenges. Where you will have to do a lot of that heavy lifting, bringing some of these pieces together, which might or might not work together, and that integration is an uphill challenge, right? And the vision for the Microsoft Cloud as you go forward is if somebody is using Azure, they can use SAP or SFDC if they want for their Bizapps stack. But it's about that interoperability. Are we able to effectively build those connectors and APIs for them to work seamlessly across that, right? And that's at least the Microsoft in looking out into the world sort of philosophy, and it's about bringing of course, it would be better if the different parts of the Microsoft stack are brought together, but it will work well with anything out there. Right? And on Power Platform, I see a lot of sessions later on today, and it is wired to do that, right? With the number of connectors which are out there and which continue to be added to that. So having said that, within the Microsoft cloud itself, right? So the fundamental has always been for Microsoft, that bottom platform that you see. And people come to Microsoft for that security and compliance. And if you take any part of that stack, that assurance comes along with that. The rest of the stack that you know quite well already. What I do want to point out is this importance, which is increasingly given to both Dynamics and Power Platform. You just look at the real estate that they get out there, right? So it signifies how important those are for the Microsoft solution stack as we go forward. And more importantly, the top two pieces that you see there, right? And those every other OEM out there talks about that as well. We look at that in a very different way, right? So for us, industry
I'm
cloud.
sorry to interrupt, Praveen.
Yeah.
I think you have forgotten to share your screen. We can't see anything.
Okay, it says it's sharing. So
Is it? We are not able to see anything on your screen.
sorry, can anybody else see my screen?
No, we don't see anything.
Wow, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm trying it again. Let me know if you can see it now.
Yeah.
Has it come up?
Not yet.
I'm sorry, I'm not on a great Wi-Fi connection, so might be loading a bit slowly.
Do you want one of us to do the sharing for you, Praveen, if that's okay?
No, it's all right. I think it just keeps. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Let me turn my video off. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see your screen now.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that helped. Thanks for pointing that out. Let me just show the others as well. So we spoke about the key needs for any organization, right? As we go through, especially the pandemic. Then we spoke about how the market operates and how the Microsoft cloud operates, right? And we spoke about that as well. And then I was specifically talking about the Microsoft stack and the philosophy there, right? So security and compliance is at the core of everything that Microsoft does. But at the same time, the way we look at industry clouds and the partner ecosystem is very different from, again, how the market looks at it, right? So those two go together when we think about it. It's about enabling our developers, enabling our partners with the right set of tools with which they can leverage the horizontal stack that you see below to then go and develop what is needed for a customer from an industry perspective. So that is the intent of the industry cloud there. It's about building those templates, the connectors, the APIs, the use cases, which will help our partners to deploy those industry specific solutions more rapidly. It's not about per se providing an industry solution directly to the customer, right? It's about how do you make it real for an industry and then leverage the partner ecosystem and developers to go and land those solutions for our customers. So very different thinking when we think about that industry cloud and specialized components. So that's broadly where that is, right? So this is a slide that I like to use quite a bit when I want to talk about the philosophy of business applications within the Microsoft context, right? And I don't know whether many of you haven't noticed, we traditionally or typically we do not use the word CRM and ERP when we talk about Dynamics, right? And the thinking is that it's not about creating siloed applications. It's about creating agile applications with a focus on driving consumption at the end user. So that's the thinking behind or the core philosophy behind Dynamics 365, right? So it's about, hey, can I make it real for the end users so that they actually get value out of it? And can they measure the value which comes out of using that application? And it doesn't mean that they need to buy all of it or they need to build solutions on all of it. It's about really giving them that flexibility so that they can pick and choose what is that they need to solve a particular business problem at a point in time. And the whole, the sort of this vertical thinking is around very traditionally, right? Even if you go a few years back, the data that we input and output from any sort of a business application is using a typical interface, right? Either it's a computer or a tablet or sometimes a phone or a handheld device or a barcode scanner or something like that. But increasingly that is changing, right? So that if you go to that ingest layer, how do you use different types of inputs which come in and bring that back into the system? IoT is becoming core. AR is becoming core. We are getting HoloLens in India beginning in Q2. So all of that is coming in. So how do you bring in all of those different types of inputs back into the system? And then really taking all of the data which sits out there, right? And you have Azure out there. So and we have these productized AI offerings from Dynamics. How do you really leverage that to drive insights back based on that transacted ingest data that you have received? And again, this is about, okay, this is if you take any organization, they can pick and choose from Microsoft or even otherwise to build their core product application stack. And then that's where Power Platform really comes in, right? So if once they have built that core sort of stack out, how do I then really help an organization build a surrounding set of applications or process automation tools which would then go around what they have built to really make it unique to that organization and help them really deliver something which would be very specific to that organization, right? And that's where the transform layer becomes so powerful from a Microsoft perspective, using the tools which are in that integrate layer, right? So, and this is sort of this basic thinking which goes through, right? And anything which is outside this, outside the top three layers, you go to the transform layer to really figure out how do you go and build something unique for your own own organization. And again, there are a few operating principles based on which the platform has been developed, right? I won't go into each and every one of these. It's basically about can we help our customers create impact faster? And secondly, again, like can we help them if they have a complex stack out there, how do you help integrate, bring all of that together? And that's what is breakthrough barriers. And again, adapting to anything out there, which is through Power Platform. And all of that gives you that ability to go and innovate out there. And again, it's only gaining power as we go. So I quickly wanted to touch on a few things, right, which a lot of you would have attended Ignite as well. So you would see some of these themes come through. So I had some themes in my mind, and which I wanted to emphasize with the community on the call today, which would be core to how we think about it, at least more in the near term, right, in the next year or so, to which we have visibility on where the whole portfolio is going today. The first is around security, right, which you already spoke about. I think that is becoming more and more fundamental. And if you look at Microsoft, they have hired a new engineering leader from more recently, who's come in reporting to Satya, focusing only on security. So that's the level of importance which is being put on security right now, which will permeate through all parts of the solution areas, right? And a $20 billion investment is going in there. So security is going to be paramount to what comes through. Either is O365, D365, anywhere, right? It's going to be very critical, and leading with that, right? That assurance that we give to organizations out there is going to be important. What I wanted to talk about quickly was about collaboration, maybe a little bit about intelligent automation and fusion teams. Collaboration, right? Again, the Ignite announcements were massive, right? It's really about taking this to the next level. And again, the sort of the parallel example is if you take O365, right? Even 10 years back, you were not really able to, if you want to collaborate on a document, you will have to email it to somebody. They'll make the changes, they'll send it back to you, right? Now you can share and you can multiple people can work on the same document now. So that collaboration that you see there is going to start extending to Dynamics as well as we go forward, right? How do you think about if there is data which is sitting in Dynamics sales and there is data which is sitting in Dynamics customer service, right? How do you bring those two together? How do you sort of get intelligence and insights out of together? And even prior to that, can you share data records seamlessly and visualize that in not just Dynamics applications, but also in other applications like Teams or Outlook or something like that, right? So that's sort of where collaboration is going. It's about bringing that democracy back to the data which sits in those business applications as well. So that's increasingly becoming front and center as a thought process. And I think that's going to become a game changer as we go forward. And again, infusing that with AI, right, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But that will also become critical as we go forward, because when you bring those data sets together and seamlessly then add AI on top of that, that really changes the dynamic there. So this, I think, is going to be the cornerstone of how things will evolve from a collaboration perspective as we go forward, right? And this whole piece would pivot around Teams, right? So Teams is a good place where you can bring a lot of this together, and it brings signals from different places. In the previous slide, you just saw sales, but it doesn't necessarily have to be sales. You can have that one view of the record in multiple ways, right? And from a business perspective, there are a lot of benefits that you see here. But I think Teams are sort of that central place where that orchestration happens. Is going to be a good story that we're going to lead with out there. Secondly, around intelligent automation, right? So this is becoming quite interesting on how we do this, right? Recently, we also had launched a project called Intelligent Order Management. If you're all aware of it, which is completely built on Power Apps and Automate, right? But it brings together with the AI Builder capabilities as well, so that you can add on to it. So it effectively illustrates how we need to think about leveraging the power of the Power Platform to create simple and clean tools, which can then blend in with the rest of the stack. And I'm going to take a more of a core example here, right, which is around the Dynamics product itself. This whole story around customer journey orchestration, which has been again a more recent development, right? This for me is like a primary example, like, and this is on the um, customer engagement side of things, while that intelligent order management is on the uh, supply chain side of things. But this is basically that story, right? How do I get the data together? And how can I use AI to, in this case, it's productized AI, right? You use customer insights to do that, to build that single golden record, and then you take that and either you build your segments or use customer specific insight and then automate. You used AI to build that intelligence, and now you automate the action which comes after that, right? So if the customer has done X, Y, and Z, or rather consumer in this case, right? If let's say it's a retail consumer, right? Maybe they came to the store and bought X, Y, and Z. It immediately triggers a marketing response automatically, right? So that automation from a marketing perspective, I think this is going to be core of that journey. And again, on the intelligent order management side, it's about, okay, I need to have a bunch of freight providers on one side. I need to orchestrate my warehouses. How do I bring that together? Okay, my stock level is falling here. You get an insight and then you immediately trigger saying that, hey, I need to ship something from X to Y, right? So get your insight, trigger that automation, and you get your action out. So that's where this world is headed. And I think that's going to become increasingly prevalent as we go forward. And finally, I wanted to touch very quickly on Fusion Teams. I think this is more relevant to what you will be talking about a lot today. Today, when we look at the choice that developers have, right, or organizations have from a Power Platform perspective, I think what we need to really get into the market is the message around it's not just Power Apps or just Pro Developer, right? It is a combination of the two. And how do you bring that very seamlessly? There are a whole bunch of Microsoft tools available out there. So really leveraging the power of Power Apps for a specific need, right? Like if you want to build an Uber or an Ola type app, you're not going to be using Power Apps for that. So there is a specific need where you need the Pro Dev platforms, and there is a specific need where you need Power Apps. Really educating end users and the citizen developers out there, or even CIOs out there, right? That this is how they need to be thinking about that Power Apps plus Pro Dev, right? It's not a neither nor. You don't have to pick only one. It's about how you bring that combination together and use the right platform for the right need, and really bring the power of both to each other so that it actually accelerates what any organization or anybody needs out there, right? So I think this message needs to really go out into the field out there. And that's pretty much it, right? We did speak a little bit about industries in transition. Again, the pandemic just switched behaviors all around. And you see the strong response from Microsoft in terms of all these industry clouds. It really goes to, again, the point that I made earlier, empowering developers and partners with the right sort of tools. There are templates, there are APIs, all of that are just coming as these go into public preview to help you build those tools out, those applications out for your end customers. So that's broadly what I want to touch upon. I'm sorry if I ran over a little bit of time, Deepesh. So if we have some time, I can take questions as well.
No, we didn't run over time. We are actually a minute close to even after having some glitches. So thank you, Praveen. So if there are any questions, over to the people moderating the session, Vivek and Preeti.
Well, there are no questions as yet, but it is very nice to hear and know about where we are heading to in terms of technology related to Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. So now we are very much aware of what to expect in coming days and how we are heading towards the empowerment.
Thank you, Praveen. It was really a kind of nice overview of what we are going to get in the future, as you rightly said, Priti.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining so early. We know it's on the weekends and calling people so early is not that really good, but that's fine. Thank you again for joining us. Supriti, on to you.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries at all. Thanks for having me here. And you guys are going to spend all your Saturday thinking through and having a great day working through some of the problems that you deal with. So really happy to see this community and happy to support it.
Thank you, Praveen, for
Okay.
supporting it and coming on so early and sharing so much wealth of what is coming in the product line with us.
No worries at all. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Thank you.